So Australia is on the top of your bucket list and you've started researching the working holiday visa. But how much of the experience is work and how much is travel? Let me explain. Hey, I'm Claudia from Welcome to Travel and we are the backpacker, gap year and working holiday visa experts here in Australia. Since we help hundreds of working holiday makers every week here at Welcome to Travel, we've been able to learn a few things from them and have an overall understanding of what the key things are to make sure you have the best experience on your working holiday. In this video, I'll be covering how to structure your working holiday, the seasons in Australia and the various climates, the best travel routes for you to go on, and budgeting, how to manage your money. You can head to the timestamps in the description, and otherwise, let's get into it. When structuring your working holiday, there are two options to consider. And the one you choose or the one that's more suitable for you will depend purely on how much spending money or savings you come over with. So this first structure are for those of you who come over with some savings. So for the first 2 months, you head on your dream trip to any destination that you are most interested in. Afterwards, you feel like you want to start saving again. So the 3rd and the 5th month, you get stuck into some regional work. And that is a lot easier when you've already fallen in love with the country and decide you definitely want more than that 1 year in Australia. So you only figure that out if you go traveling at the start and actually experience what it has to offer. Then you've saved a decent amount of money in your regional work and you've also got the 2nd year visa after doing 88 days on a farm. So the 6 months you decide to treat yourself with some more travel and you head to a secondary destination that you're really interested in, and it could be completely different to what you've already seen. Then from around the 7th month onwards, you can settle down and work in your favorite spot that you experienced. And you know this because you've already traveled a very large amount of Australia and decided what works for you best. And you've decided what type of work you're most interested in. So you can settle down in that destination, make the most of your time, really enjoy it, and do that for the remainder of the year and know that you have the 2nd year already under your belt. This second option are for those that come over with not as much savings as you would like and you know you have to work pretty quickly after arrival. So the 1st to the 4th month, you decide to head into a regional part of Australia and do your 88 days of farm work. Then after you've worked incredibly hard in a remote part of Australia, you definitely need to treat yourself with some travel. So you head on your dream destination over the 5th and 6th month and explore what Australia has to offer. From your dream trip, you've spent a little bit of money again, so you want to head to your favorite destination and get stuck into some work again. And it doesn't have to be farm work this time. Now you might want to explore some retail or hospitality or office or customer service role. It's totally up to you. Then again, towards the end of your 1st year, travel again to a secondary destination that you haven't seen yet and treat yourself again. A common misconception is this idea that you can easily hop between jobs as you travel up the East Coast, for example. We would recommend not to try this as it doesn't end up working how you would imagine. Firstly, when you do get a new job, you often have a training period where you are learning about the new role. Plus, when you're on a working holiday, part of getting a new job also means that you're looking for accommodation as well. Neither of these two things happen overnight, so we generally suggest giving yourself about a 2-week buffer to sort out work and accommodation and allowing yourself to settle in properly. It could take you more time or less time than the 2 weeks, but this is generally what we see happen most. So if you only want 1 month in a job before you set off on the road again, you're only giving yourself a solid 2 weeks in a new job before leaving again. And that's assuming you were able to get yourself sorted in that location. The main reason we also wouldn't suggest you do this is because you're kind of letting your employer down. It's not actually a common thing in Australia to treat employment as a money in your pocket kind of stopover for a few weeks. And it's certainly not appreciated from a business owner perspective. If you have heard of people doing 1 month work, 1 month travel, 1 month work, etc., more than likely it's probably farm work, but any other industry or job in a small town or a city, it's just not really feasible. Unless of course the role specifically says a 4-week contract, for example. The best way to approach work and travel is in larger chunks each time. We'll also be making a completely separate video on the types of jobs you can expect on a working holiday in Australia. Something that may help with planning your working holiday structure in Australia is to know the seasons and the climates. I know you are all probably under the impression that Australia is warm and sunny all year round, and that's probably our fault for lying to you a little bit. Let me explain. You will indeed be experiencing delightfully warm temperatures and sunny days, but you have to follow the sun and plan the timing. First, let's break the country into two parts, north and south. The further south you go, so for example here in Melbourne, we have 4 distinct seasons. Proper summer is December to February, autumn is March to May, winter is June to August, and spring is September to November. The further north you travel, so closer to Cairns for example, the closer you are to the equator, so you'll be experiencing more of a tropical climate, similar to that of Southeast Asia for example. So up in far north Queensland they have a dry season which is May to October, and a wet season which is about November to April. All year round it is hot, but the wet season just implies more tropical rains. So what I'm saying is you could try and be down south for summer, so our Christmas and New Year's period, and then head up north for winter when it's really cold down south. We get a bit of snow, so follow the sun up north. If you're already stressing about how to pack for these climate variations and for a working holiday specifically, given that you will be in Australia for an extended period of time, check out this video. Now on to the travel routes you should consider. Most common places to start are Melbourne or Sydney, as all flights will fly into these major international airports, and they're located at the start of a potential East Coast journey. In fact, 70% of working holiday makers start in either Melbourne or Sydney. So let's say you begin in Melbourne over summer, and maybe you join us on a Welcome to Melbourne tour to kickstart your adventure on the right foot with like-minded travellers exactly like you. And as you've saved for this trip of a lifetime and have some savings with you, why not head up the East Coast from Melbourne over about 6 weeks to do your dream trip, and possibly with some new friends you've just met. The reason this is the most common next step is because the East Coast offers such a range of diverse experiences, sights and nature, and is logistically very easy to travel, destinations with their own accommodation options and experiences to explore along the way. You can expect major highlights such as Byron Bay, Fraser Islands, the Whitsundays, Cairns, and a lot more. Next, after your East Coast adventure, you might decide to see a part of Australia that's completely different. Many decide to then head into the Red Centre, and by that time it's getting closer to the winter season and starting to cool down in the middle of Australia, which is the perfect time to head into the outback. Do not go in summer, you will melt. From there you might decide to go up north from Alice Springs and explore Darwin in the Northern Territory, which is also where you'll find Kakadu and Litchfield National Parks, which are must-dos. From there, many want to see completely different scenery again and choose to experience Tasmania over about a week or so. Or for a longer and more challenging trip, the West Coast is a great option. Again, it depends on your budget coming over, how long you work for in between these trips and manage to save, and how long overall you plan on staying in Australia. Remember, we also have New Zealand and Bali right on our doorstep. Now I know all of this sounds bloody fantastic, but money doesn't grow on trees. I'd love to delve into how to budget for your trip, but I'm going to make a completely separate video on it for you, as we have so many tips and tricks, plus some incredibly useful savings resources for you to have. I'll take the time to talk you through money expectations, recommended savings, what things cost, and how to save. Booking flights across the world and spending money on accommodation, hostels, food, and travel can be pretty costly. But if you plan your finances and save in advance of your departure date, it's not as intimidating as it seems. If you haven't already, I'd recommend checking out our Ask Travel YouTube series with Welcome to Travel co-founders Adam and Daryl, who have answered hundreds of questions sent in by travellers before you who are at the exact same stage in their research as well. If you're after some travel inspo, I'd recommend these videos too. I'll put them up here or link them in the description. Thank you for joining me for episode 2 in this working holiday series, and we'll see you in the next one.